things out of your list. You have to buy groceries for the month. So what all questions can you have? Can you type your questions in the comments? What questions do you go through while buying, before going to a supermarket, and before buying anything? What all questions do you go through in your mind? Can you type them in the comments? For example, one thing could be, what all do I have to buy, right? Let's say I have to buy vegetables, I have to buy fruits, and probably soaps, shampoos, and all. This is what, right? Yeah, brand is something. What brand do I have to buy? What price do I need to buy it at? What quality? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks, Ufan. So yeah, you also have to keep a budget in mind, right? So the questions, some of the major questions that you have, let's go through a flow that you have, right? So the first one is obviously, what do you have to buy? You're out of things. Now you have to make a list of things. What do you need to buy, right? So you'll make a list, let's say shampoos, soaps, vegetables, fruits, right? Then the second question that comes to your mind is, now where should I buy it from? Should I buy it from a big bazaar? Should I buy it from, let's say, Easy Day, or from a local kirana shop? So this is second question that happens in your mind. Third could be, okay, now I've decided a place to buy it from. So what brand do I need to buy it from? What brand do I need to buy for it? Like shampoo could be, Head and Shoulders or something like Dove. So it depends on needs, it depends on your price and budget, right? So this is another question that you have in the flow. And another question that you can have, depending on your budget, is the price. What price are you willing to pay for the thing that you're buying? If you're going to a luxury upmarket shop, probably you're willing to spend more, right? If you're going to a local kirana shop, probably you won't spend that much. Or if you're out of money at the end of the month or something like that, you're not willing to pay more, right? So price is another important factor that you have in mind. And lastly, when you're in the store, you've bought all your things off your list. You're proceeding towards the checking counter, pricing counter, right? And on the way, you think, do I need to buy anything else? Do I have any impulse purchases and all? Right. So this is another question you have before billing. Right. So all these questions, these are the questions you face as a customer, in the whole buying process. So in a way, the major question that you're trying to answer is, how can I get the most value for my money, right? That is a major question we as customers are trying to answer in our head, right? So we keep these questions in mind because these are important, and these will be used later on, right? Okay. So I'll give a quick introduction to retail in India, and yeah, so this is important because given how huge retail in India is right now, it's already in the top 5 retail markets by value, approximately $600 billion, and it's expected to touch $1 trillion by 2020, and it's the fastest growing market in the world. And of this, only 8% is organized retail market. What is organized retail market? Organized retail market means probably shops and stores that are registered, that are paying taxes and all, that are recognized by the government. Those are called organized retail stores and all, right? And these are only 8%. The rest of them are not organized. They're not paying taxes. They're not registered and all. So here's, there's a huge opportunity over here right now. And also, you have noticed in the last 4 or 5 years, there has been a huge, influx of e-commerce companies, and this is primarily driven by the rise in increase in the number of internet users, especially recently using Geo. Geo was the main factor. It brought a lot of people online, and it is further fueling the e-commerce growth, right? So two factors that have been major instrumental to the growth of retail in India. One is policies, and second, technology, right? So policies more or less depends on the government, how they are framing the policies, how liberal the policies are, how open they are becoming, and obviously FDI norms are also changing. FDI norms was one of the major reasons that e-commerce was able to set up in India. Flipkart getting funds from outside investors, Amazon entering India, other retail chains also, trying to enter India using these norms, and technology, obviously, with internet and all. So these two main factors have huge potential to change the retail landscape in India, and it's already changing, right? But there are also some challenges right now, very specific and unique to India. One is geographically dispersed population. Population spread. Firstly, a huge population, and that to spread over a huge area in the country. Second is small ticket sizes, which is low value of orders. People aren't buying high value orders in India, probably because of the poverty and all. Third is complex distribution network. There's a lot of still not connectivity to places in India. You don't have roads in far off places, so distribution channels and all, these are tough. And obviously, fourth is the little use of IT systems. Still growing, still developing. And some of the other factors are also limitations of mass media and existence of counterfeit goods. We've already seen that in a day-to-day life. So yeah, so what to expect today? So I'll briefly explain how I've structured this presentation. So first I'll be introducing myself in the next slide, giving a bit of a background, my own background, what I've studied, where I've worked. Then I'll move on to the retail basics, some concepts and definitions in detail that we use. After that, I'll be explaining why retail analytics is important to us. We as analysts, why it is important to us. And then I'll be discussing some techniques used in retail analytics, some techniques that are specific to retail analytics only, right? And one of these techniques, I'll be taking you through a hands-on session also. I made a code on R, and I'll be explaining this technique on R. I hope everyone is comfortable with R. That this is something I'm assuming that we have a basic understanding of R. Okay, and lastly, something important is career opportunities in retail analytics. How and where, what companies are using retail analytics, and what all opportunities are there specifically in India, right? So this is how I've structured the presentation today. So yeah, who am I? So basically, I'm an analytics professional. I've been working for 5 years now, and I have been working in the analytics industry only. So I have worked with companies like Jabong.com, dunnhumby, and right now I'm working with Royal Bank of Scotland. So the first 4 years of my career was spent more or less in the retail industry only. So Jabong, I spent 2 years. Jabong is an e-commerce company, if you're not aware, and basically online retail only. And dunnhumby is a proper retail analytics company, and it's a UK headquartered company, and the clients it has are majorly your retail giants and all, like Carrefour, Tesco, and clients like these. So a lot of retail analytics work happens in dunnhumby. So that was a very valuable experience for me. And I've also studied analytics from ISB. I've undergone an analytics program from ISB. I've also been certified in SAS. And one thing that I'm very passionate about and interested in is data visualization and storytelling, right? If you want, you can look me up in LinkedIn using this link. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Regression in R. No, I wouldn't say regression in R is related to market basket. Market basket is something different. So we'll come to this and you'll realize how different regression in R is as compared to regression. How market basket is different in comparison to regression, right? Market basket is a association algorithm. Regression is something else, right? I'll explain market basket and you'll get to know how different it is from regression, right? Okay. So yeah, retail basics. So there are some terms you should be familiar with, when working with any client. So firstly, obviously, what is a retailer? The most simplest definition that I could find on the net is something sorry, a retailer is someone who purchases goods from manufacturers at a cost and sells them to consumers at a higher price. And in this process, makes a profit, and this profit keeps them, helps them survive in the business world, right? So this also can be twisted a bit. This retailer can be also a manufacturer and a retailer at the same time. Like you have Apple, the company. Is someone trying to ask a question? Yeah. So a retailer can also be a manufacturer. In the case, like example, the company Apple, they also make the phones and they also sell them at their own stores, right? So this is one deviation from this definition, but more or less, retailer is generally someone selling others goods at higher price, right? Then there is something called channels and formats. So what is channels and formats? Channels are how you're selling your goods, which is one model that is very famous is offline and the online model. So in offline model, you have retailers like Big Bazaar. They're selling their goods majorly offline only in brick and mortar stores. In physical stores, and Big Bazaar, Easy Day, something like More, or your local kirana shops. These are all offline channels. And online is something, online e-commerce companies, majorly e-commerce companies. So you have Amazon, Flipkart, Jabong, Myntra, stuff like this, right? In this also, you can have mix and match. Like some offline retailers, given the competition you have with online retailers, some offline retailers are trying to set up their own online e-commerce portals also. Like you have Big Bazaar trying to do that, and other also like Tesco, they have their own online page also where you can order stuff. Walmart, everything, every one of them have their at this stage, all the big ones, they have their own e-commerce also set up. So they're not purely offline, they also have an e-commerce setup. Similarly for online also, initially they started as online retailers like Amazon. They started as online, but even now you can see, if you've heard the news, Amazon is trying to open their own stores, physical stores. They're not purely online anymore now. Everyone is trying to expand the reach into both the formats, because I don't think like anyone can purely offline and purely online in this competitive age. So this is one format that is very important. Okay. So the types of stores that you have, the major ones that you all are familiar with, uh, one of them is the convenience store, local grocery shop. So the characteristics of this convenience store is, they have limited stock, limited categories. Prices are higher probably, as compared to other bigger stores, and it is easy to just enter the shop and get your items. So in a way they're speedy to shop at. Like there's not a lot of hassle or a lot of time that is taken to shop. Something bigger than this is the department store, right? A department store could be something like More, Aditya Builders More. So they have a larger stock as compared to the convenience store. They have more categories, right? The prices are lower than what you find in a convenience store, because they're able to buy in bulk and in a way reduce prices. But they're also bigger in size, hence it is slightly you'll take a lot of time really at these stores. If you increase the size of the store even more, you have something called hypermarkets or supermarkets, right? The characteristics of them are like they have a huge, almost all the categories that you can possibly know of. They have very large stock, right? They have very low prices also. They're able to reduce the prices, and obviously since they're so big in size, and so you majorly go for monthly stock up kind of thing at these stores, and hence it takes a lot of time to shop at these stores, right? So a hypermarket or a supermarket could be something like a Big Bazaar store near your home. They're usually very big in size, right? And another type of store is an e-tailer, or basically an online e-commerce company. Some that is called an e-tailer, right? So Amazon is an e-tailer, Flipkart is an e-tailer, right? Okay, so these are the four major ones, more popular ones. Others that we see every day around us are something like hawkers. Hawkers are one person selling stuff on the street. That is also retailer only. So hawkers, they're not registered. Like I think they're counted in as unorganized retail only. Your pop-up shops, something at a fair or you see a stall or something like that. That is called a pop-up shop. Discount stores is another concept that is not very popular in India, I think. I haven't seen many discount stores over here, but these stores are made specifically for discount only. You get a lot of discount over here, but you have to buy in bulk. So that is the concept of a discount store. Okay. Okay, so hypermarket is a very huge store, right? So generally, big bazaars over here, they're not qualified to be called hypermarket. They're generally supermarket only. Hypermarket has a very huge size. I don't think there's enough space in India for retail stores to be qualified as a hypermarket. Some of them could be, like the definition is not very clear, but generally, big bazaars over here are counted as supermarkets only. I'll move on. We have some more definitions. So we can also classify the retail stores on the basis of the goods sold, right? Some of them sell only food items, perishable and non-perishable. Perishable is something that doesn't last for too long, like probably milk or bread. These are perishable items, right? And non-perishable items in food could be something like chips, which take a lot of time to perish. They have a long expiry date. Chips or toffees, you get the point, right? So these are perishable and non-perishable items, food items. In non-food, you have FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, consumer durables, or the hardline and specialist goods, right? Consumer durables or FMCG is something, soaps, shampoos, brushes, notebooks, I don't know, something like this, right? Hardline retailers are retailers selling automobiles, appliances, electronics, or furniture, stuff like that. And specialist retailers are, they like cater to a very niche audience, like organic markets, green grocers, or probably you can also say art galleries, bookstores, handicrafts, musical instruments. So they sell a very special kind of a category only, right? So this is also how you can classify the stores. Or a store can also be mix and match of both non-food and food, right? Okay, the next thing that we have, which is something important to a retail store, are the key retail functions. So more or less, there are 6 major functions that you have in any retail store, right? And it is kind of a flow only. So you start with demand forecasting, right? So you have to forecast, start the demand. You have to calculate on how many items you have to purchase, or how many items will be sold in the next month. You have to build some models based on the previous sales, or on predicting based on the data. You have to forecast the demand for the next month, right? So let's say this month you sold 90 items. This month you sold 90 items. You're expecting some growth for the next month. So next month, say you sell 100 items, right? So in a way, you're trying to forecast the demand for next month. On the basis of the demand, you'll place an order to the suppliers, right? You tell Pepsi that, okay, I need 100 bottles for the next month, right? So this process is called procurement. Placing the order to a supplier, and asking them for the goods. So now when Pepsi will send you 100 bottles, right, you need some way to get the bottles. So the way of getting the bottles is the logistics part of it. Pepsi will send you the bottles using a truck or some auto or something like that, some means of transportation. That is your logistics part. And warehousing part is the part where, when the goods have arrived at your warehouse, you have to store these bottles. So you have to have a warehouse for that, or some kind of a godown or something, some place to store your goods. So that part is the warehousing part, right? And category management also, you have to keep a track of what all categories do you want to keep, because as a retailer you only have some limited space, right? You don't have infinite space, right? You can only stock a certain particular kind of categories, particular kind of set of items only in your stock, in your store. And this decision that you have to take on what categories to stock, on what items to stock, that is an important one that you have to manage. So based on the margin that you get from items, uh, based on the items that you, based on the margin that you get from items, based on the size of the items, right? You have to trade off between these factors. So this is called category management. One more thing that is very key, very important to retail uh, processes, the pricing of the goods. Now you can price it as low as you want, or you can price it as high as you want. But if you price it very high, price sensitive people won't buy from you. If the place that you live in, the people can't afford very high prices, no one will buy from your store, right? And if it is too low, right, people might think that you're selling poor quality stuff, and they might not come to your store also. In that case, especially the upmarket people, they judge a item by its price. A lot of people judge an item by its price. So if you're selling a shoe for, let's say, normally it is sold for 3,000. If you're selling a Nike shoe for 1,000 rupees, someone will doubt you. Is it a fake item? Why is he selling for so low, right? So you have to maintain a pricing trade-off. Also, if you sell for too low, you won't have any margins. That is also there. That is a major factor. So in a way, you have to maintain do calculations on pricing. You have to set an optimal price for your goods so that you can have the audience and also your margins together. You have to balance both of these, right? And lastly, promotions. Promotions is how within store, how you promote your product, and outside the store, how you promote your store. Like, you have to pull people into your store first, and when the people are there in your store, you have to promote the items within the store so that people buy higher margin items, people buy more items, so that you make more profit, right? So this is what promotions means. I'll just quickly check for the questions. Okay, no questions. Okay, one more thought exercise now. Next one. Now you have to think as a retailer, right? Don't look at the questions. Now, if you're a retailer, assume that you're a retailer. Okay, let's say you're big bazaar. Now you have to tell me in the questions, in the comments, what all questions can you have? As a retailer, what questions do you start with? I've told you the processes over here, these 6 functions, right? Key retail functions. Now you have to tell me what all questions as a retailer you can have. You can type your questions in the comment box. Yeah. What should we keep? Exactly. Basically the categories, and within the categories, what items, and within what items, what brands, which brands are giving me the highest profit, highest margin, what all products to sell, how much space needed. Yeah, space is important. Profit margins, profitability. Yeah, exactly. What do people want to buy? How much? At what price? Yeah, location. Yeah. Competitor. Exactly. We also need to keep in mind our competitors. What they are selling. Probably you can sell something extra, which pulls in the customer. That is also important. Keeping an eye on the competition. Okay. Yeah. So these are majorly the questions that a retailer faces, right? So exactly. So what categories to stock, right? Should I keep only chips, or chips and cold drink? Should I keep soaps? Should I keep shampoos? Should I keep shower gels? These are all categories, and within categories also you have subcategories. Like, there are 4 or 5 levels of category generally you have in a retail store, and you have to on this, what you can afford, what space you have, on the type of customers you have nearby, on the basis of the competition. Sorry, on the basis of the competition that you have nearby, you have to decide on the categories that you have to stock, right? Secondly, how can you convince people to buy from you? Like, why should I go to a big bazaar store when I can buy from Amazon? Like, what value does Big Bazaar provide to me that I should go to a Big Bazaar store and not buy from Amazon? I can buy from Amazon. It is convenient for me. So Big Bazaar, probably the advantage that it has, it could be on the price. It couldn't be the customer service. You have a person greeting you, a person helping you. You can see and feel the product in a Big Bazaar. You can't do that in Amazon, right? So that is some convincing that you have to do. You have to basically market your store and your products. So another question could be which brands to stock. Probably, some brand is giving me a better margin as compared to some other brand. But the other brand, which isn't giving me a better margin, could be a more popular one, right? Generally, you see, the more popular a brand is, the bigger a brand is, they, kind of have a power with them. They can demand lower margins because, as Jabong, if I'm Jabong, right? If I don't stock Nike products, Nike is very popular, right? And if I don't stock Nike products because they're not giving me a higher margin, so then people won't come to my site because a lot of people are looking for Nike products, right? So I have to keep Nike also, I have to keep my margins also. That is one trade-off that you have to decide on, right? Sometimes you have to go for a lower margin just to keep a famous brand also. That happens a lot. I have to bleed in one brand so that I have to recover my margins from the another brand. A lot of companies have to do this. Another question could be, how do I price my products optimally? We've already discussed a bit of pricing earlier, right? And how do I sell one extra product to the customer? So let's say the list that I went to a store with had 20 items, right? I had to buy 20 items for the month. Now, I generally buy 20 items only from Big Bazaar, right? Now, the store wants to earn more profit from me. It wants to extract as much money as it can from me. So the question they have is, how can I convince Ayush to buy 21 products today instead of 20? What can I do? How can I convince him to buy one more product from me so that I get that extra margin from him this month, right? So there are a lot of techniques that employ, giving discounts, bundling with other items, giving bundle discounts, or they could place. There's one technique that these retailers use, which is placing your impulse purchases near the billing counters. You must have seen small shelves and all near your billing counters, right? They have candies, batteries, razors, and all. So these are all impulse purchases. These are items for impulse purchases. So this is one technique. You standing in the line, you bored, and you see a nice chocolate, pick up the chocolate unknowingly, and that is one technique to convince one extra product for the month, right? So basically, what the retailer is thinking is, how can I get most value from my customers and the suppliers, right? So this is a major question that they're trying to ask. Okay, moving on. Yeah, this is important demographic where I'm selling to men, women. Yeah, exactly. This is basically something called segmentation. You have to understand the audience that you have around you, right? If you're living in Ghaziabad in Delhi, you have to understand what kind of what kind of customers they're there around you, right? So are they upmarket customers? Like, are they very rich? Are they poor? Are they middle class? This is something that you have to keep in mind. And are there a lot of women living around? Are they working class? Are they businessmen? Right. So this is something you have to create segments. You have to create and understand segments of your customers, and that is how you decide on what to stock and how to promote. This is all related. Okay. Yeah. The third exercise that you have. Okay, this is not really an exercise, but the third point that we have, you're an analyst, right? You're training to be analysts. So as a retail analyst, it is important for us to keep the customer, the retailer, and the supplier in mind, right? We have to think from the perspective of all three of them, and this is how we have to come up with relevant insights We have to make decisions, help them make decisions, so that all three are, balanced. We have to strike a balance between customers, retailers, and suppliers. So the questions that I made you think about earlier, when I made you think as a customer, and then when I made you think as a retailer, all these questions you have to keep in mind, when you're designing solutions uh, for your customers, basically for retailers or your customers. So these are questions very important to your stakeholders, right? So now that you know about retail, so why do retail analytics? So retail analytics is basically, you're using data, retail data, transaction data, to provide insights to your stakeholders. Your stakeholders could be retailers, your stakeholders could be customers, and you're helping them take decisions on key retail functions. The functions that we've discussed before, the 6 ones: demand forecasting, procurement, logistics, category management, pricing, and promotions. So as a retail analyst, you're asking questions in these key retail functions, and you're answering these questions using data, right? You're designing data solutions for your stakeholders. Okay. So, and one important question is, why even do analytics in retail? Like, what's the use? You've seen stores, you've seen big bazaars. They're all profitable. They're selling the stuff. Amazon is doing the stuff. But why do retail analytics? So, if you have been reading the news, so in offline retail, these big bazaars, more and Easy Day and all, they're suffering a lot because of the advent of e-commerce companies. People are not buying. People are not going to these stores. They're not buying from these stores. They prefer shopping online only these days. Like personally for me, like I hardly go to a retail store right now. I used to go to my local kirana shops, to my local grocers, even sometimes big bazaars and all. But I stopped that. Everything is available online only. So your offline retailers are bleeding. They're bleeding money. They're losing customers. So that is why retail analytics is important. To help them re-attract the customers, to help them maintain the customers, to extract as much profit as they can from the existing customers, to optimize the marketing. So these are some of the functions. And if you think about the online commerce, e-commerce, even there, your analytics and retail is very important, because right now none of the e-commerce companies, none of them are profitable, right? Even Amazon in India is not profitable. Flipkart is huge into losses. Jabong, Myntra, everyone is taking losses, right? And they need retail analytics to figure out a way to make profit, to figure out a way to extract customers from offline retail. They need a way to market their products, to market their services, and understand the customers, do pricing management, do promotions. So in both offline and online retail, your analytics and retail is very important, so that each other can survive in this very competitive market. And they have to identify opportunity also to grow. That is why. Okay. And what kind of data is there in retail analytics? So generally, let me just look for questions first. Okay, you were asking customer segmentation. Yeah, so demographics and all were customer segmentation only. This is something dividing the customers on the basis of demographics, like gender, uh, region, prices, money, sorry, salaries and all. This is all customer segmentation only. There are different kinds of customer segmentation, right? Okay, I was telling you about the kind of data that is there in retail analytics. So you must have noticed that when you're doing a doing billing of your items in a store, you get a receipt of items, right? If you remember what is there in the receipt, so you have a date, when the transaction took place, like let's say 10th December 2017, and time also, what time that receipt was generated, right? You have the item name, or the item and the item number, something like that, and the price and the total, right? So these are some of the famous, some of the major data points that you have in your receipts that is given to you, right? Behind the scenes, in the servers of the company where they're storing the data, they're generating even more data over there. They're storing what kind of a customer are you, who are you basically. If you're using a loyalty card or some kind of a card, retail card, so they're identifying you by your own card, right? So they're able to identify, okay, Ayush is going to the store, he's purchasing these items, so these categories he's buying into. Okay, what else? This is the time he prefers, right? So you have transaction data, you have customer data, you have inventory data, and also you have marketing data. If you're going to marketing, how you're marketing. If you have an e-commerce portal, an online portal, you have a lot more data than these ones. So you have your visitor data, how they're clicking on the website flow, the customer flow, what they're putting in the carts. So this is the kind of data that is there. But majorly, generally in data analytics, a lot can be done just with transaction data only, right? If you have the items that you bought, the prices that you bought them at, the date, time, only these data points are enough to design a lot of solutions, right? And in my previous company in Rahambi, we were only using customer data and transaction data to design almost all the solutions that we had. So right, so even these small limited number of data points are enough to generate a lot of data solutions. Optimize a store to a very large extent. Okay, so I'll be discussing some of the techniques that we use. So yeah, so generally in retail analytics companies, the solutions that I've observed that they have, one of them is pricing and promotions, right? So in pricing, a retailer comes to me and says, tell me how to price this product. So these are the kind of customers they have. They'll provide me with the customer data, right? And they'll tell me how to price this product. Tell me how to price these categories or something like that, right? So we have to have a look at the customers. So what kind of customers I may be having, right? And if you can do external research, probably what kind of prices the competitors are having, right? So let's say I'm Walmart, right? And I'm coming to Dhanambi to say, boss, you have to do pricing optimization for me, right? And they'll give me the data of the customers, and they'll say, you can use this data and come up with a strategy to price the products based on the categories, or come up with a strategy to price the categories, right? So I have to look at a lot of variables and design some algorithms so that I can optimize the pricing of the products. So I have to keep the margins in mind. I have to keep the customers in mind. What kind of customers I have, and I have to deliver the optimum prices to the retailer so that they're able to make profit. Another thing is promotions. In promotions, I have to come up with a way to promote the products within a store. So let's say you're wanting to sell some particular brand more within a store. Like let's say so Pepsi gives you better discount. Pepsi gives you better margin. So you're trying to promote Pepsi in your store, right? You stock both Coke and Pepsi and Thumbs Up in your store. But since Pepsi is giving you better margin, so you're trying to promote Pepsi in your store, right? But not everyone drinks Pepsi, right? So you have to design your promotions in a way, so that you're able to attract Coke or Thumbs Up customers to switch to Pepsi. So you can probably give a discount over there, right? You have to identify the customers which are already drink Pepsi, which can switch, and you have to basically optimize the process. You have to identify the relevant customers. You have to segment them into different buckets, and try to identify which customers are willing to switch, which customers are not willing to switch. Because the customers that are not willing to switch, you don't want to waste money and time on them, right? So the customers which can be swayed to buy a higher margin product, you have to focus on them. Okay, category optimization. So category optimization, we have solutions designed to uh, optimize what all categories to place in the store, what all categories to focus on, right? So uh, so there are a lot of categories, a lot of retail, a lot of suppliers that you have, but the store space that you have is limited, right? You have to decide, you have to give preferences to categories based on what kind of customers you're having, what kind of uh, region you're setting up your store in, right? So let's say in India, uh, saris and all, sari uh, is something that sells a lot. People wear saris over here, you're right. But you can't set up a category of sari in a country like US or Brazil, something like that, right? They don't wear saris over there. So this category you can't introduce in Brazil. You can only have sari category in India, right? And even in food, there are certain kinds of food that Indians have. There are certain kind of foods that people from Britain have, from UK have. That food is completely different. So the categories that you have over here, you have to optimize them for the region, for the people you have, right? And within category also, you have to optimize the products because the shelf space is limited. You can only uh, display a certain amount of products over there, right? So that is why category optimization is very important. Okay, one another solution that I have personally worked on was something called new product development. So this solution was basically, let's say you're Pepsi, okay, and you want to come up with a new flavor of Pepsi in the market, right? Let's say apple flavored Pepsi. So now you don't know how customers will react to this apple flavored Pepsi, right? So you can't suddenly introduce these to every store in the country. You have to test the product in certain specific stores, and you have to measure how this product is performing in the market, right? So you'll introduce this product very slowly in limited stores, in limited regions, for limited type of customers, and you'll measure the performance of this product. How many sales this product is taking up, what kind of customers are buying this product, how it is growing month on month. So, so this product that I built, I worked upon. We used to, whenever a new product was launched, we used to track the performance of this product for 6 months, right? And we used to put out a report for every 1, 2, 3, and 6 months on the performance of this on the performance of the product, right? How your performance, what is the performance in the first month? What is the performance in the second month? What all people are buying? What all kind of people are buying? How much it is selling? What region it is selling better at, and what region it is not selling in, right? So these are some of the things that you measure when you're launching a new product. And on the basis of these, on the basis of the performance measures, we used to recommend them, this product is a star performer. This product isn't selling well. You can probably delist this. Or probably we used to say that, this is a very niche product. It is selling to some very specific kind of people. So you can probably market them this product, right? So this kind of recommendation, something that retailers are looking for, some kind of guidance on how the product is performing, new product is performing. So this was one solution that a lot of article companies did develop. And next we have is customer segmentations. I'll just quickly check for questions. Questions. Sorry. Yeah. Another solution that a lot of analytical companies build are customer segmentations, right? So specifically for my company, for Danabi, we used to have a lot of different kinds of customer segmentations. So a segmentation can be on the basis of price, It can be on the basis of your age, your demographics, right? The categories that you're buying into. All these factors were used to create different kind of segmentations, right? For example, prices, right? So majorly in retail, we have three kinds of segmentation for customers. One is the upmarket customer. Upmarket customer is someone who spends a lot of money on buying expensive stuff, who doesn't mind spending money on items, who splurges, who has a lot of money, who buys expensive stuff. So this kind of a customer we can use to target expensive items or higher priced brands. The second one is the middle market customer, right? They're slightly price sensitive, but they're still willing to spend more money as compared to the last category. And the last category is the price sensitive ones, right? These price sensitive segmentation, they're very touchy on the price. So they're not loyal to a brand. They'll go for the brand that is offering them lower prices, right? Probably the upmarket ones are more loyal to a brand, even despite the prices. But these price sensitive customers, they're not loyal to a brand majorly. They're more into how I can get the lowest price on a product. Whenever price increases, they switch their preferences to a lower price one, right? So this is one example of a segmentation that we have. And okay, another segmentation that I remember was on the basis of what the people are buying, like what kind of things, things the people come to buy at the store. So, for example, let's say I'm a working class person, right? So majorly buy monthly groceries and something to eat, uh, sandwiches and all if available. Let's say there's a mom who has two kids. She's more into buying stuff for making lunch for her kids. Buying into kids categories, right? Another could be something an old person is more into buying medicines, more into buying other types of categories related to senior citizens. So on the basis of what we are buying, we can segment customers in this way, right? And this kind of segmentation is used in the next kind of solution, which is called shopping missions. Shop mission is something basically trying to understand why a customer is coming to the store, right? So using transaction data, I'm trying to identify why you're coming to the store. So for an example, let's say you have a party at home, right? So the kind of items that you buy for a party at home are completely different from the kind of items you buy, let's say, for baking a cake, right? So if you have a party at home, you're probably buying soft drinks, you're buying chips, you're buying snacks, right? And if you have to bake a cake, you're buying probably eggs, you're buying flour, you're buying baking items, utensils, right? So these are missions. So one could be a baking mission, one could be a party mission, one could be a monthly top up. You're buying a lot of items in your basket, and buying in bulk, the value of the order is very high. So that can be classified as a monthly top up mission. Or you're going to store to buy, quickly grab something to eat. So that could be termed as a lunch mission, right? So these are missions, why you're going to store. That is what a mission is. And another last technique that I remember that we used was something called store layout. So this was a solution that we built for the retailers. And using this technique, called store layout, we were able to recommend to those retailers how they should place the categories in the store. Like if you go into a store, things are arranged in a very specific way, right? And this technique, store layout, is used to optimize the layout of a store. So in a way, if I'm using uh, this technique will recommend me what all categories to place together so that the sales can go up, right? So let's say using this technique, I'm able to identify that if people buy milk, they're also buying eggs, right? So using this technique, I can identify milk and eggs are being bought together, so we can place them together so that people, if they're buying eggs, they also remember to buy milk because they're placed together and they'll remember buying them together, right? Or this algorithm will recommend what all categories are closely related, how they're associated, and it will recommend me accordingly, like what to place together, what to place apart from each other, right? And the next step that we have, we'll be studying in our today's hands-on. We'll be studying the algorithm that we have, which is basically used in the store layout technique, right? So the store layout technique uses an algorithm called market basket. It uses something called market basket analysis, and basically it is an application of market basket analysis only, right? And in the next step, we'll be going for hands-on on the market basket analysis, right? I'll just quickly check for questions. No questions. Okay. Okay. So hands-on today is the market basket analysis. This is a very famous technique that is used in retail analytics, and this has a lot of applications, not just in retail analytics. It has a lot of applications outside of retail analytics also, right? So market basket analysis, or MBA, is kind of an affinity analysis or associative analysis, and this technique is used to discover co-occurrence relationships among activities, right? So as an example, like you must have gone to Amazon or Flipkart, and you must have seen, below your products, you must have seen something like, people who viewed this also viewed X, right? People who bought also bought Y. The customers who bought X also bought Y. So this is generated by the market basket analysis, right? So we are trying to determine how items and purchases are related to each other, right? So the applications of this market basket analysis are cross-selling, store layout, and shopping missions, which is discussed in the previous slide, right? And one more example of this could be, so let's say we have discovered using this technique that people are buying shampoos and conditioners together, right? Like whenever people are buying shampoos, they're also buying conditioner. So as a retailer, if I put both of the items on promotion at the same time, it isn't very useful for me because people are already buying both of them together. So it makes sense for me to put only one item at a promotion, because if I put both items at the promotion, I'm losing money, right? I already know that if I put a discount shampoo, so if people are buying shampoos, they already buy conditioner, so I don't need to put any discount on conditioner, right? So this is how market basket can help us. So basically, one product is driving the sales of another product. So it's time to open the code. Go to our. Let's check for questions. Okay. Okay, so 2 questions. Major tools that are used in retail analytics. So, are you asking about the analytical tools that we have? We are using R, we're using SAS, we're using Python for transforming the data. We're using databases like SQL, SQL databases majorly to store the data and extract the data. And there are also a lot of visualization tools like Tableau, or inbuilt tools like R only, which can help us visualize data. So that is there. A lot of processing can also happen in Excel. So the common analytical tools that you have are also used in data analytics, right? And second question is, what is the difference between market basket analysis and predictive analysis? Okay, So market basket, in a way, is trying to, it's not predicting anything, right? It's just telling you an association between things. Like uh, this association is already existing in the data, right? You're not you're not trying to predict anything extra out of this. You're not predicting anything. Whereas in predictive analysis, you're trying to determine future value, right? Like this is what my understanding is. In market basket, you're not predicting anything. That relationship that is coming out of the data as a result is already existing in the in reality, right? Like let's say you're saying that, if you're buying shampoo, you're also buying conditioner. So I know that is happening. Like I don't have to predict anything. That is already happening. In predictive analysis, yeah, exactly. So demand forecasting, where you have quantitative data, they have to predict the number of orders. That is something where predictive analytics will be used, right? So this is not a quantitative data. You're not predicting anything away. So that is the difference. What I'm able to explain. So I hope it is clear to you. Uh, Another question is, are the market basket answer stuff can be done in R? Yeah. So yeah, it can be done completely in R. Like a lot of there, R has a lot of algorithms. A lot of technique can be applied in R. You have a lot of packages, also made especially for retail analytics only. So yeah, it can be done in R completely. You just have to store data somewhere, probably in the form of CSVs in your databases. You can pull that into R. You can transform your data into R in R. You can apply the algorithms that are already there in R using the packages, and you can also visualize the data if you want. R has very good visualization capabilities, and you can use that to visualize your data. Yeah, I can share the code and details. I can share that. Yeah. Another question is from Aishwarya is, okay, so yeah, so R and SAS can be used for predictive also. They can be used not just for predictive. In fact, they're like any kind of analysis you can perform in R and SAS. They're not limited to just predictive analysis. You can also do machine learning in that, your AI stuff in that. Python and R are like okay, you're asking if Python is right for AI. Okay, you can also do AI stuff. The algorithms that you have in Python, your machine learning and AI algorithms that you have, they're also there in Python also and R also, right? But Python is something that is gaining popularity these days. So it is not that you stuff that you can do in Python you can't do in R. Stuff the algorithms are there in both of them, right? But Python is something that is becoming more popular these days, and it is better suited in terms of that. That is just there, right? And all the data analytics can be done in R and SAS and Python itself. It is basically all about it is all about your algorithms only, right? And all the algorithms are majorly there in almost all the languages these days. So that is not a problem. So yeah, exactly. So we'll be using the ARUS package only. So we'll be coming to that. Exactly, ARUS is used for NBA. Okay, so moving on to the code. So okay, so what we'll start by loading the data, right? Our data is generally in a transaction format, right? Generally, data that we get from companies, or if as a retailer, if you're storing data, you're storing it in a you have a transaction number, you have the item number, item name or the number, right? And you can have multiple rows for the data, right? Transaction number one, item number one, transaction number two, item number two, something like that. Or you can also have data in a format where only one row corresponds to one order, right? So for the code we're going to run today, there is you can load the data, but your data has to be in a transaction class format. A transaction class format is a format for in basically transaction format in which the transactions are stored, and it is specific, it is needed, it is required for the uh, A rules library, for the a priori algorithm, right? So this is very specific to this algorithm. So we need to convert our data into this transaction class format. We need to remember this. And if you want to know more about how to convert your data into this format, you can use this link that I've provided over here. Or you can just search for, transaction class format, and there are a lot of tutorials that can help you convert the data into this format. And if you already having data in that format, that is very helpful, and you can directly start performing analysis on that, right? To perform our market basket analysis, we need to install a package called A rules. A rules is the name of the package that we need to install, right? As correctly identified over here. So this line is basically checking if A rules is installed. If not, it is installing package and loading that package, right? So I've already run this line, but you can run this line on your own if you have the code, right? It's very simple, nothing much. Okay, right. So I was talking about transaction class format data set, right? So there's an inbuilt data set in R called groceries. Groceries is the name of the inbuilt data set that we have. And this data set has the transactions, a lot of transactions in it. So what I'll do is I'll run this part of code, right? And I'm using this command, I loaded the data. So groceries data set is now loaded. Just remember that groceries is within A rules only, right? It is not loaded by default. You have to install this library and load this library first, right? Only then you can load the groceries data set. So I've loaded this data set. Now it generally if you type head, you can see in the first 5 rows of data. But since this data is in a transaction format, you cannot use this head command to view the rows. For this, we need to use inspect command, inspect function, right? So if I run this, now you can see the rows in the data set, right? So this is the format of the data set that I'm talking about, right? So each row corresponds to one order or one basket or one transaction, right? So once you went to the store, you bought these items. Second time you went to the store, you bought these items. Third time you bought just this, right? So this is the way that the data is structured. And there are a lot of rows in a data set, right? So this is the data set that will be used to get the association, right? Okay. And now this is the algorithm, a priori algorithm is the one that is used in the market basket analysis, right? And we run this algorithm on a data set, groceries, and we provide parameters to limit some parameters which I'll explain, to limit the data that we have, right? And we store the results in a variable called rules. So I'll explain what these are, all these is. So you run a priori, you provide some parameters, and you store the data, store results and rules, right? So I'll just run this quickly. Okay, so this is run over here. You can see the log over here. I'll explain it shortly. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll inspect the rules variable that we just created. So options, this function is limiting the decimal points to 2, right? And inspect is used to basically inspect is used to see what kind of data rules are created. Okay. So now rule, what I'm talking about, the word rule, this is the rule, right? So let's say if I'm purchasing butter and jam, so what is the likelihood that I'll purchase whole milk? So this complete thing is a rule, right? If I'm purchasing X, then what is the relationship of purchasing Y or whole milk? So this thing, this relationship is called a rule, right? And this rules is storing all these relationships. It is creating permutations, combinations of all the items, all the transactions, and creating rules of all the items that we have in a data set, right? Okay, and you must have noticed that there is something called LHS and something called RHS. So LHS is if I'm purchasing X, that is called LHS. If I've already purchased this, and RHS is something what I'm about to purchase, like what the association of this, right? So if I'm purchasing LHS, what is the association or the affinity of me purchasing Y? So these are what LHS and RHS are. We get some more what do you call parameters called there's some more variables called support, confidence, and lift, and these are very important in understanding the results of our algorithm, right? So I have a very good link with me, and this link will help us understand support, confidence, and lift in a better way. So I'll go to this link. Save comments. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, empty cars is also an inbuilt dataset only, and groceries is also an inbuilt dataset. Similar, they both are similar, just that groceries is in the ADOS package. And is confidence our percentage? Yeah. So I'll just explain what confidence is. So I have this link. You can use this link. You can search for e-priority algorithm on KD Nuggets website, right? And you'll get this link. So this is the simplest definition of support, lift, and support, confidence, and lift that I've come across. So I'll be using this link to explain to you what the definition is, right? So the first one is support. So support is let's say these are transactions that you have, right? Transaction one is apple, beer, rice, meat. Transaction two is apple, beer, and rice only. So likewise, you have 8 transactions, right? So support of an item is the frequency or the percentage, the time of the times that item is occurring in the data set, right? So basically, it is how popular that item set is as measured by the proportion of transactions. Basically, the proportion of the item, right? So in this one, Apple is occurring 4 times, 4 upon the number of total transactions, which is 8, right? So the support for Apple is 4 by 8 or 0.5, right? Similarly, we can also have support for combinations of items. So let's say the support for apple and beer together. What is the support for apple and beer together? So apple, beer over here, 1, 2, 3, just 3, right? So apple and beer, this we'll write 3 over here upon 8, right? So because these are occurring 3 times together, apple and beer, so 3 upon 8, it will be the support for apple and beer, right? Similarly, we can have something for apple, beer, and rice. Apple, beer, and rice is over here and over here. So the support of this apple, beer, and rice will be 2 upon 8 or 25%, right? So basically, it is the proportion of transactions in which an item set appears, right? And this is exactly what is shown over here. So this figure means that this thing is occurring, the whole thing is occurring in this proportion together, right? Yeah, so this is the support which we're defining. Yeah, okay. I hope this is clear. So the second measure that we have, which is the confidence, right? So confidence is the thing. You can see values like 0.9, 0.91, right? So confidence is how likely item Y is purchased when item X is purchased. So if I'm purchasing, so if I have to calculate the confidence for when I'm purchasing an apple, how likely is beer being purchased, right? So apple and likelihood for beer. So the formula is support for apple and beer upon the support for apple. So support for apple and beer over here is apple beer, apple beer, apple beer, apple. Okay, three times. Three is the support. Sorry, three is the number of times it is happening, and support is 3/8 for apple and beer. For apple only, it is 4/8, right? So the confidence will be support of this and support of this upon support of this, which comes out to be 3/4 or 75%. Is this clear? So support for both of these upon support for this, right? And support we have defined above, which is basically the proportion of transactions. So one thing about confidence is that it is inflating. Let's say beer is apple is popular and beer is also popular. Like they're both having a high support, or like they generally purchase when someone comes to a store, right? If you're going to a big bazaar and you're purchasing apples and beer all the time, like it is popular, so the confidence value will be inflated in a way, right? Because you're not accounting for the popularity of the item over here. So there's one drawback. So it might misrepresent the importance of an association, right? So it is accounting only for how popular the apples are, but not the beers, right? So this is one drawback of this measure, right? So what this is saying is, if beer is also very popular in general, there will be a higher chance that transaction containing apples will also contain beers, thus inflating the confidence measure, right? Yeah, I agree with the statement. Yeah, it depends on data, kind of data you have, and what for what you're calculating confidence for, right? It depends on the items, it depends on data, exactly, right? So this is the confidence measure. Third measure that we have is called lift, and it is similar to confidence, but we add something extra over here, which is to check the inflation due to the popularity. So the drawback that we have over here is getting solved over here by adding this support for beer over here, right? So this will ensure that the data is not inflated. It is accounting for the popularity of both the items, right? So support for apple and beer upon support for apple into support for beer is what lift is, right? And lift is basically used to tell how dependent or independent the item set is, right? If the lift is greater than 1, it means these are dependent, right? So one is depending on other. Like if lift is greater than 1 for apple and beer, so every time apple is purchased, there's a strong likelihood that beer will also be purchased. If the lift is 1, exactly 1, it means that both of them are independent. Like purchasing apple doesn't affect purchasing a beer. And if the lift is less than 0, less than 1, it means they are like if apple is purchased, then there is in a way unlikely that beer will be purchased. So that is how lift is measured. For example, this chart you see. So for canned beer and soda, this rule, the support is 1%. So let's ignore the support for one, like for this thing. Let's focus on the confidence lift, right? The confidence is 20%. Like it means that both of them are very popular, but the lift is very low. So you see, this is a case of where both canned beer and soda are being purchased together, and both are very popular, right? So that is why the confidence is being getting inflated over here. It like both are independent of each other because the lift is one, but since both are popular, the confidence is getting inflated. So this is not really very useful to us, in terms of data, in terms of insights. This is not any insight to us because both are very popular. In the next case, the confidence is low, but the lift is less than one, right? And lift less than one means that they are likely they're not associated. So if can beer is purchased, there is low chance that berries will also be purchased because the lift is less than one. And for this case, the confidence is 1%, but the lift is greater than one, right? So this means that confidence is low. It is not inflated also, but also the lift is greater than one, right? So this is a true insight that we get from this data, that when people are purchasing beer, they're also purchasing cosmetics. So that is something that is a useful insight that we can gain from data. So this is something that is relevant data point for us, right? So this is how you actually view the data that we have over here. Similarly, how you can interpret this whole rule using this way that I've explained. And you also need to keep check on the count that we have over here. If the count is too low, the data might become unreliable. Just one or two transactions is not enough to form a be very reliable. So you can limit the number of counts. You can set a certain threshold for the counts, right? Okay. So I'll just summarize this result again. In the rules data set, in the rules variable that we had, so the length of the rule is important. Length means how many items we are considering in the rule. So this is a two. The length of this rule is two, right? Because we are having two items in this. In earlier case, over here the length of the rule is 3 because we are having 3 items, right? So this is what the this rule length is. 3 for rule length 3 we have 29 items. Rule length 4 we have 29 items. For 5 we have 140 items, and for 6 we have 12, right? This is the sizes of the rule, right? And this is this distribution of the rules. So yeah, from 3 to 6. And for support, the minimum value is from 0.0012102 going up to 0.00315. You must have noticed that we have provided a parameter over here, and this is setting a minimum threshold for support and minimum threshold for confidence. So that is why the confidence over here is minimum is 0.8 and going up to 1, right? That is the reason. We can also not give the parameters, that is up to you, but giving such a threshold ensures that you have quality in your data. Yeah. Lift is going from 3.1 up to 11.2, right? Okay, I'll move on quickly. Yeah, there's nothing. I've explained this. Yeah, so this is something, this part you can use to sort the data set by confidence, and similarly sort the data set rules by lift, right? So there's nothing much in this. You can see it is sorted by confidence. So highest confidence is coming up first, and rest of them will come below. Similarly for rules for lift. So the highest lift 11.2 is coming over here, then decreasing lift is coming. Okay. No. So yeah, we don't have to use only the lift. We also need to keep an eye on the confidence, right? Remember this. So lift plus confidence, right? So lift confidence gives us a measure of how is the data getting inflated due to popularity, and lift is a measure of check of the popularity. So use both of them. See that confidence is not too much inflated, and lift is also significant. Like, so this is the kind of a true insight that we are getting. So the confidence is low, but the lift is higher, right? So both of these together are telling us that this is a insight, like this is something that we didn't know, right? If the confidence high, it is telling us, yeah, both are popular, so obviously they must be getting purchased only. Like if I'm going to a store and purchasing beer and soda, like if they are popular, I'll be purchasing them only, right? So it is likely to be purchased. So it doesn't give me any additional insight that I already know. But this is an additional insight, and it is we're getting this from looking at both the factors, not just lift. So you can just sort your rules. You can also limit the number of rules that you have. Like you can say, I only want to see three item sets in my data. Right. So now you have only maximum three. You can use maximum 3 to limit to 3. So liquor, okay. So like you have only curd, cereals, and whole milk, butter, jam, and whole milk. So you can limit the number of item sets that you have in your rules, right? Similarly, you can also put a minimum threshold that you have called min length. So max length will tell the maximum length, and min length will tell the minimum length of a item set, right? So min length will give you more than 3, more than 2. We have 4 over here. This thing has 4 things over here, 4 item sets, right? Another thing that we can do with this rules is we can check individually, like there's something that we want to target. Like let's say I'm targeting butter. Like okay, I'll just run this once. So I just want to know if my RHS has butter. So what all LHS can be there? Like so what do need what are the customers likely to purchase before buying butter, right? So if the people are purchasing butter, they must have purchased either whipped cream, hard cheese, or yogurt and rice, or curd and chocolate, and like these are the support, confidence, and lift for all these rules, right? So you can see that if your people are purchasing butter, they must have purchased this also before, with this support, lift, and confidence, right? We can also invert this question. We can also ask, what are customers likely to buy if they purchase butter? So if I first purchase butter, if I first put butter in my basket, right, over here, then what is the second thing? What is the more likely thing that people are likely to buy? So if I'm buying butter over here, so I'm more likely to buy like okay, confidence low over here, confidence 0.5 over here, but lift is higher than 1. So I'm more likely to buy whole milk, most likely to buy whole milk, right? So this is how we are interpreting this rule, right? With 50% confidence and 1.9 lift, I'm more likely to buy whole milk when I've already bought butter, right? So yeah, so this is more or less the e-priori algorithm that we use for market basket analysis. And this rules that have been generated, you can further process them, and you can if you play around with the data more, you can you can see what all categories are associated with each other. I don't have time for that, for visualizing the data right now. We're running out of time, I think. But we can visualize the data, and within R only we can visualize how these categories are related, right? It will give you a diagram or network kind of a thing. It will show you how the items are related, and that is very useful when designing store layouts, right? It will give you a network diagram of the store categories or the items, and you can use the network diagram to determine how to place items in your store. And you can also play around, limit the support, confidence, and lift over here in rules, and you can discover insights on what are the very hidden gems, hidden insights, what kind of products have a very high lift, but you're not able to identify with your gut feeling. So this is where this is very important. Discovering hidden insights. So yeah, so this is the gist of market basket analysis. I hope everything is clear. Okay, there's one question. Yeah. So if you reduce the length, so see, if you reduce the length, you can identify, can build one-on-one relationships or two-to-one relationships. You identify these. So yeah, you can able to identify items better because individually you're able to identify what items are dependent on what items, right? If you increase the length, then you can identify groups of items that are purchased together. So that is the difference what the length makes, right? I think the recording will be available. I think Shweta can help on that after this.
Yes, the recording and the codes will be shared with everyone.
Okay, great. I'll be also sharing the code to Shweta and I think she can help with the code where the code will be loaded, right? Just one more thing that is left for today, which is career opportunities, right? So in India, there are a lot of companies which are into offline retail analytics and online retail analytics, right? So I have listed some of them over here. Like one of the famous ones is Manthan Retail, Capillary Tech that I've heard about, and a lot of startups also there. Bridge2i is also there. Bridge I2I, right? These are some of the famous ones that I know about. Then so you can apply these companies. They have positions for retail analytics. They have clients, in India and outside India, majorly outside India, in for retail analytics. For example, Danambi, my company, my previous company, they had a lot of foreign clients. Like Tesco was the biggest client. In fact, as Tesco owned Danambi. Tesco owns Danambi. So Tesco was obviously the biggest retailer that they had as a client. Then they also had clients in different other companies, different other countries, like North America, Brazil, South America, and China and Japan, something like this, right? So all the big retailers were their clients, and similar to Danambi, their companies, consulting companies like Accenture, like McKinsey, they also have a lot of retail clients. They have a lot of retail projects, retail teams, and they also built a lot of similar solutions on based on retail analytics. So it's not very different when you go to company. The solutions are more or less the same, just that the client differs, that the size of the data differs. That is what changes, and the kind of knowledge you can gain at these companies. So yeah, definitely with e-commerce coming, with the policy changes, there is a lot of scope for retail analytics. Especially if you specialize in this, there are a lot of companies doing this, so the opportunities are very high. Uh, I would be cautious of online retailers at this moment. If you're going with the big ones like Flipkart, Amazon, and all, that is good because they still have the funds. They're still still surviving. But I would be cautious of the smaller e-commerce companies at this moment. They're not doing very well. So if you're going for e-commerce companies, just be careful. Just have a check of their funds and all, how they're funding them, what profitability they have. But if you can go to a retail, if you can go to an analytics company which is into retail, that will be better. Personally, I would say, right? So, and if you open up LinkedIn or Naukri.com, there are a lot of opportunities you'll see. So yeah, so that is there as far as retail analytics is concerned. I hope this was insightful to you. You learn things, new things, and this is all I have to share today. Any more questions? Okay, visualization. So visualization diagram, what I can do, I can add that to the code and I can share that code with Shweta and that can be shared, right? I'll have to add that to the code. And yeah, definitely there is scope for freshers in the industry. Like I've already told you about some solutions, right? So if I can do some sample projects on these solutions, if you can learn some techniques, like if you can learn market basket analysis, if you can learn some techniques that are used, and if you can show some sample projects related to analytics, and then approach the companies, that will be a very useful thing when applying. But you have to study yourself first. That is required. I'll be sharing the code. Don't worry. Any other questions? Sample project.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can.
Yeah, we have some
Sorry.
we have some sample projects that we already do at Ivy. So, Pradeep, that will have to be done from our side. So that, you can get in touch with us at the email ID I'll just provide you. So we will be able to help you with that. Any
So
more?
yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you so
Any
much.
more questions?
Yes, thank you so much, Ayush. It's been a pleasure having you, and I'm sure with your insights and your experience, I'm sure all of us, in fact, even I've been pretty glued. So, thank you so much for your time and your effort, and everyone for being, so patient and being there for quite some time. So, and I'm sure all of you have learned so much. Thank you so much. We'll be sending across the code and the video to all of you, and it's going to be uploaded on YouTube. So, just in case you miss out on my mail or something, you can go to our YouTube channel, subscribe to it. Anytime we upload something, you'll get an intimation. So that is something that you should do. Yeah. All right. So thank you,
Great.
Ayush.
Thank you. Thank you, Shweta. Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.